It has been 6 months since I bought this car, and now 7,000 miles later, I have a lot to say. Some things I really like, but I also have plenty of complaints. Let's get started. We'll talk about all of the items that could have been designed better or features that should have been included on a car that started around $80,000 later in the video. But for now, let's start with what I love most about this car, and that has to be the comfort. I've driven a few luxury EVs before, but this one, and this has been by far the most comfortable car I've ever been in, except for maybe my wife's X7. Both of these cars have air suspension, and it really makes a difference. Fun fact, this car warns you about rough road or road hazards in front of you. So right now we're gonna go over a railroad crossing. Let's see how that is. That's pretty smooth, come on. On my 1,100-mile road trip, I hardly had to readjust the seat and got home without any back pain. Now that it's getting cold outside, I also notice how fast it gets warm inside the cabin, which is a pleasant surprise coming from the i3. That brings me to my second favorite item, and that's the lack of noise in the cabin and smoothness of the ride. We're going over a really rough road right now. Still very smooth. I can hear the suspension working, but I don't feel it. Once again, this car has air suspension, so I'm sure that makes a big difference to how smooth it is over bumps, crappy road surface, and even highway cruising. Of course, you can still hear some wind noise and headwind going fast on the highway, but it's much less than most cars. It's practically silent in the car. I'm doing 75 miles an hour right now, and I can whisper and you will still be able to hear me. That's incredible. So it must have great sound insulation and exterior design to remove the road and tire noise from the cabin. Another reason for the lack of noise inside the car and great comfort is that the fit and finish is fantastic. I mean, look at it, nothing moves. There's no noise coming from anything. I have not heard any rattles or squeaks or any noise the entire time I've had this car. Everything also fits really well together, and there's no panel misalignment or gaps or anything else you'd see with newer manufacturers. BMW's 100-year knowledge of how to assemble a car really shines here. It helps that the car was assembled in Germany and not in South Carolina like our X7 was as well. You might be surprised I haven't talked about power yet. Well, here it is. This car is very fun to drive with lots of power and torque, and you can feel it. There isn't much more to say about it, as the power delivery is smooth and mostly linear. But that also means you can very easily get into trouble without even realizing it. Of course, there are tons of other small luxuries to love about this car, but the best optional feature for me has to be the sound system. I have mentioned this in a couple of other videos, but the Bowers and Wilkins sound system is phenomenal. It's literally the best sound system I have ever heard and experienced in a car. The power, the clarity, and the lack of rattles really makes it a pleasure to listen to daily. Lastly, I actually love the range this BMW iX gets. It's definitely not the most efficient EV out there. In fact, it's pretty inefficient compared to Teslas and other EVs, but I was easily getting 320 miles on a charge in the summer and still should be getting around 290 miles with mixed highway and suburban driving, with the temps dropping close to freezing. You can check out my road trip video to see how it dealt with an 1,100-mile road trip I did day one of ownership and some of the challenges I encountered with the charging network. Next, let's switch gears and talk about some features I don't like or that could have been designed better. This BMW iX was optioned out to just under $100,000, so you would think it has every possible feature imaginable, especially features available in other BMW cars. Not only is it completely missing some basic features, but BMW has also cheaped out on implementation of installed features. Let me explain. First on my list has to be the wipers. I don't know what it is, but these have been terrible from day one. The biggest annoyance here is that the water comes out of the wiper itself, which sounds great in theory, but it does not work very well. And half of the time, the rubber is scraped on the dry windshield. Another annoying feature of these massive wipers is that they actually move the car. Look, the car moves side to side when they are running at high speed. And lastly, Why does it stick out like this when not in park? Second on the list has to be the dash camera. Yes, it has 4 cameras. There's one in the back, one in the front, and one on each of the side mirrors, which is great for 360 view and things like that. I'm very happy that it also records all the time, and I can press this button inside the car to save the last 30 seconds of footage. But why isn't it activated automatically? Well, I guess technically it should be activated, but while my car was parked, someone ran into the bumper right here. You can see there's damage right there, and there is no video saved during this accident. Bummer. Third on the list is this wireless charger. It is practically pointless. Not only is it in a very inconvenient spot where I have to bend over to reach, but it also doesn't provide much charge at all. On a 30-minute drive to work, I get about 2 to 3% of charge while using Apple CarPlay. A more powerful, actively cooled charger would be much better. I have mentioned this in a previous video, but the door handles can be annoying to use sometimes. I understand that they have to be flush with the door for aerodynamics and design, but with it being electrically actuated, there is a half a second delay before the door opens. See, there's some kind of delay there, especially when the car is locked. Worse, when I'm using my phone as the key, every 10th time or so, the door will not unlock on the first try or even on the second try. I also think the windows on this car could have been designed much better. First of all, it's practically impossible to drive this car with the windows down due to buffeting. It's so bad that it hurts your ears at certain speeds.
Ooh. And if I lower the rear window, oh, it's impossible. If I go all the way down, it gets even worse.
Which I guess is just fine because the rear windows also do not come down all the way. This is as far as they go. They are mostly useless for rear passengers anyway. Next, the drive modes. Why are these not customizable? Why can't I create a mode where I can have sport suspension with massaging seats and eco-climate settings? Also, why doesn't it remember the last mode I was in on the next drive? That would be nice. Like, yes, you can go to settings, but you can only change the things that are predetermined in here. If you go to a different mode, like efficiency, you have different options, and you cannot add or remove options from this settings menu. Now, this last section will seem very first world problem, because it is. However, I feel like these features are lacking in functionality or should have been included. First feature that seems half-baked is the comfort access. Yes, this car has it, but it's only present on the front doors. See these 3 little ridges? It's only on the front doors. You cannot lock the car using the rear door handle like you can on the X7 or like I've had on my 2014 BMW 5 Series. Similarly, this car does not have the smart trunk or the kick to open option that can be very useful when carrying groceries. It can be difficult to reach the button all the way up here while your hands are full. I understand if a tow package was an option and they couldn't install both underneath the bumper, but the tow package was never available in the US. I believe they have added the tow option in the 2026 refresh, but still. Also, there is no lock button here. Why? Next would have to be the front trunk or the lack of it. I actually made a video on how to open this hood, as you cannot do it easily, and as you can see, they could have organized all of the stuff inside there much better to create space for a front trunk. Other much smaller EVs have decently sized front trunks, and this big SUV could have had one as well. Jumping back inside, there are a few things I wish were included. First of all, we are missing the shortcut buttons that have been included in pretty much all of the modern BMWs and that I've used extensively before. As an example, I would love to set a physical shortcut button to sync climate control across the entire car. Now I have to go to the climate menu, hit sync, and then it gets reset every single time I start the car. I also feel like BMW has cheaped out on the massaging seats. Yes, the driver's seat has it and it does a decent job, but honestly, after the novelty wears off, it could be better. Worse is that the passenger seat doesn't have the option at all. I have praised the air suspension on this car multiple times and it is great, but I wish I could adjust the ride height to different levels like you can on the X5 or the X7. not a big deal, but if you already include such an expensive option, give me options to adjust it how I like it. Right now, there's only two settings. This higher setting, and if I press it again, it will go back to the normal level. That's it, only two options. Where the BMW X7, for example, has 5 different options. And finally, it makes me really sad that I can no longer do any kind of coding on this iX and the rest of the new generation BMWs. I've always had fun modifying and unlocking features from my phone, but the software in this car is now locked and encrypted and seems like it's impossible to modify. Now that it has been 6 months, do I regret buying this car? Absolutely not. I know I complained a lot in this video, but that's only because I'm judging this car at its MSRP value. Luckily for me, I got it for less than $40,000, and at that price, it has been absolutely incredible, and I'm obviously just nitpicking here. This also means you can pick one up for the same money and have this incredible EV. The BMW iX does everything it promises and does it really well. Check out this video where I took this car on an 1,100-mile road trip and all the fun, unexpected charging issues I ran into. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.